Super to have you with us, everyone, as we are talking Marquette basketball with Mark Miller, Wisconsin Basketball Yearbook. Great guy, and he knows everything in the world you want to know about local recruiting, coaching staff for Marquette. We've covered that. We've covered the 5 freshmen. And now, John Dodds, into the transfers. So why don't you lead Mark in?
It's the Wild Wild West transfer portal for the NCAA this year, where they've, there's COVID issues and there's also issues where if you transfer, you don't have to sit out. So there's immediate player transactions. It's almost like free agency in the NFL or the NBA. So Mark, I wanted to ask you, Marquette has added 3 transfers and wanted to go over those with you.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I think the staff is really high on all 3, obviously. They went to Groudon here. I think all 3 will be on the floor quite a bit this year for Marquette. They all bring different things to the game. We can start with Kurt Koff, 6'10", 220, coming over from Oklahoma. He averaged about 17 minutes a game for an NCAA tournament team that won their first round game before losing to Gonzaga. His numbers, they're not going to pop out at you. They're 5.1 points and 3.8 rebounds, but what does pop out is his size, 6'10" and 220, and the fact that he played 18 minutes a game at a Big 12 school last year. That translates pretty well into being a key contributor at Marquette. And he's coming in with 1 year left as a grad student, so he's got the experience, the size, and the strength already to really make an impact immediately at Marquette. Tyler Kolak will have 3, actually could have 4 years left at Marquette because he played 1 year at George Mason, but of course with the pandemic, every player gets that extra year. He was the Atlantic 10 rookie of the year, I should say, last year. He averaged about 2.5 3-point field goals made per game and averaged 10.8 points and 3.6 rebounds. 6'3" wing guard that made, I believe it was over almost 63-point field goal attempts last year. So he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to stretch that defense a little bit and knock down some 3-point shots for Marquette.
Everybody reminds me of someone, and he reminds me.
He's a blender. You put him in a blender.
I put him in a blender, but he reminds me a little bit, watching him on tape, Matt Carlino, in terms of point guard skills, really nice shooting skills, left-handed. Just reminds me of Matt Carlino. Do you see any comparison there, Mark?
Yeah, he might be a little. Matt was really a good player. He might be a little taller than Matt, maybe, but not by much. There is some carryover between the two. The difference with Matt, I think, was that he came in, with lots of experience. I mean, he had been at Arizona and had been at
BYU.
BYU, yeah. So, he came in as a experienced college basketball player. And Tyler has got 1 year, and he played in a good conference, the Atlantic 10. So he's got 1 year under his belt, so he won't be completely raw to the college game. The other guy, Oliver Maxence Prosper, comes from Clemson, and he played 1 year there. He played in 22 games. He had a couple starts as a freshman at Clemson. He only averaged 2.5, but I think he's a guy that people are going to really like Joplin and some of the other guys on the roster. He's very versatile. He can play the 3, but he can also slide over and play some 4. His length, he's 6'8", 220, so he's put together fairly well. I think he's going to be a guy that people are going to be very excited about. So I see all 3 of these transfers really, getting some major minutes, and of course a lot of it will depend on the situation with Dawson Garcia. Where is he? Is he going to be back, or is he going to go to the NBA? Of course, Justin Lewis is going to get a lot of minutes, and Greg Elliott also. So. Mixing those 3 holdovers, hopefully 3 if Dawson's back, mixing those guys with 3 transfers, and of course the 5 incoming freshmen, it's going to be almost like a chemistry class for these guys because they're all new to each other for the most part. So finding their spots, finding their roles, identifying who's going to be the key players, all that will be very important once practice gets underway in October.
Mark, you read my mind. Mark Miller, Wisconsin Basketball Yearbook, like my friend John Dodds. They both have doctorates in Marquette roundball, that's for sure. How long will it take? Will the team that Mr. Smart throws out on the floor, let's say in November, I'd like to think that it'll look nothing like the one we will see in March and hopefully beyond. I know it's asking a lot because all these different bodies, you talk about chemistry and everything else, that's going to be a major task for Smart and his coaching staff, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, normally you come back, you got several guys that you're very familiar with, or at least half your roster, that had played for you maybe the year before. And this year, that isn't the case. I mean, he's got 5 freshmen, 3 transfers, and 3 holdovers, and none of them have played for Shaka Smart. So, I mean, the summer workouts that they're having right now, and then of course when practice gets underway for real in October, are going to just be highly competitive, exceptionally important time for this team. Now, you could say this year in particular, Tom, that it's going to affect a lot of people, because of like John mentioned, the transfer portal, a lot of new faces at almost every program. But at Marquette, I think you couple that with a new coaching staff, and the fact that there's only 3 holdovers, it's even more pronounced.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you. Don't get too worried, if it looks pretty choppy, in November, December, as long as it's looking a little smoother, come late January and all February and beyond.
Absolutely. Well, we've got one more segment if you can stick around, Mark Miller, and we're going to chat a little bit more about those local targets in the 2022 class. You good with that?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, we're going to get it going just a moment or so.